Hello and welcome to this Lightroom bite-sized tutorial video. Now before I start, I hope you're all well and I hope you're all staying at home as well. That's what we've been advised to do, isn't it, during this coronavirus crisis that we're in at the moment. So I do hope you're staying at home. I'm staying at home. And while I'm staying at home, I'm going to produce these tutorial videos. Now all my classes here in Liverpool have been cancelled, unfortunately, but that's not going to stop me doing what I love to do, which is to teach. And I hope you benefit from that. I hope I can help you get through this staying indoors policy that we've got at the moment. I think by the end of it, you will be a Lightroom expert. But above all else, you'll be safe. And that's the big thing, isn't it? Now, I know we all do have to leave our homes to go shopping or to see loved ones or vulnerable people. And all the advice that we're given is that we observe the 2-meter rule. Now, social distancing is really going to help save us and save the planet. That sounds really dramatic, but it's true. And just a simple thing like observing that 2-meter rule is really going to help, because you might unknowingly have the virus and pass it on to somebody else. If you do need to go shopping, wear rubber gloves. I do. I wear rubber gloves and then I'll put like a cloth glove over the top. And again, I still observe that 2-meter rule as well. And there's nothing wrong with going outside, getting a bit of fresh air and a bit of exercise. As long as we all do it sensibly, honestly, together, we'll get through this. Anyway, back to the subject of this video, which is the spot removal tool. Now, I hope you enjoy it. But above all else, if you take anything away from this video, it's the first part. It's what I've just said. Hopefully you enjoy the second part, but let's all stick to the first part and we'll get through this together safely. You take care of yourselves and I'll see you a little bit later on. So here we are then inside of Lightroom. So let's take a look at the aforementioned spot removal tool. Now it lives on the tool strip just here, and there it is there. Now the shortcut is Q if you're into using your shortcuts. So let's open it up and see what we've got. So we've got two options. We can use the clone part of the tool or the heal part of the tool. And in most cases, you'll be using the heal, but the clone does come in handy. And I'm going to show you an instance where I would use that. The next thing is we can change the size of the brush by using this slider. Now we can also, if I just jump over here, we can use the scroll wheel, or as I'm doing here, the magic mouse, and we can do it that way just by sliding up and down. And the third way of changing the brush size is by using the square bracket keys. So I'm using the square bracket keys there to increase or decrease the size of the brush. The next one then is feather, and feather. Let's take a look at the brush. Let me just put the feather on, say, 50%. And if we take a look at the brush now, we've got a brush put up there in the sky. That center part, the solid circle in the center, that is the extent of the hard edge brush. In other words, if it was just a single circle, let's just take the feather off. Just a single circle, that would be a hard edge brush. So as I painted in, you know, it wouldn't particularly have a graduation between the pixels, between the two items I was trying to blend together. Now, the more that you increase the feather, you can see now we've got an outer circle. So between the inner circle and that outer circle is where the graduation of the pixel, where the blend is going to take place, where that graduation of pixels is going to happen. So the more you have that feather, the more you increase it, the more that graduation, it's going to be softer basically, and you're going to get a larger graduation between the two areas. So, okay, so that's the feather. Now opacity, generally I keep opacity on 100. Now there might be a situation where you might not want to do that, but if I'm going to clone something or heal something, I generally don't want it to be transparent. So that's the way I work it. So, okay, so that is the options we've got. We can clone or heal, we can change the size of the brush, we can increase or decrease the feather, and we can also have an effect on the opacity. So let's take a look then. Let's go into this image of Anfield Stadium in Liverpool. And what I'm going to do is remove the vapor trail that is going right through the center of the image, and I'm going to do that by using the heel brush. So here is the vapor trail just going through the center of the image there. So I'm going to use my magic mouse to make the brush size smaller. Round about there should do it. Now feather wise, let's just increase it a little bit. And all I need to do now is click and drag over that area. And what will happen is, there we go. What will happen is it will disappear. Now pressing H on your keyboard will reveal the two areas. So this bottom area is where I've just painted, and Lightroom has selected this area here to sit over the vapor trail. And if I press H, it will just hide those two areas. And I can see it's perfectly taken that vapor trail out of the image. Now, let me just change this. Now, we use the heel tool there. Let me change it to clone and you'll see the difference. Now, on clone, you can actually see now what's happened here. With the clone tool, it actually takes the pixels that were here, and let me just press H again so you can see. It's actually taken the pixels that live here and duplicated them over the vapor trail. Now that's not what we want, because obviously it's not blending them together, and the clone tool doesn't do that. It's the healing brush that does that. So if I switch it back to heel, you'll see it'll disappear. So that's how simple, how easy was that, you know? So I mean, it's arguable that whether I'd want to remove that vapor trail, but it was a good little example and a very easy one to show you to start off. So let's look at another example then, and again we'll use the healing brush. So in this image we have 3 airplanes. You can clearly see them. A jet in the middle and 2 biplanes. Biplanes are the propeller planes. And I think this image would look so much better if this particular airplane here was removed. So again, I'm going to use the healing brush to do that, because I want to heal. I want to take these clouds and I want them to sit over the top of this plane. So I'm going to increase the size of the brush. The feather's okay, I'll leave it around about 50, and I quite simply just paint over the aeroplane and then let the mouse go, and there you go. Click, drag, paint, disappeared. How easy was that? And again, just to show you, if I went to the clone, so to clone, it's actually taken all the pixels of the cloud and plonked them over there, and it doesn't look as realistic, does it? So again, it's another case of using the healing brush. Now that's really easy, isn't it? So let's look at another one. Now this photograph, it's all about lines. And oddly enough, I want to remove these lines here, not these lions, these lines. Now this was taken at our local safari park, and I think if I removed these wires here from the fencing behind, it would look a bit more like it was in the jungle and not in a safari park. And this is ideal time to use the healing brush. So again, I'm going to make the brush size, big enough to cover those wires. And again, a feather of around about 50, perhaps just a little bit more, should do it, around about 68. And again, I'm on the healing part of the tool, and I'm just going to click and drag and then let it go. And voila, it's disappeared. And again, let's do it there. That's that one gone. That one there. And you can always, if I just press H, let's have a look where it's taken that from. I might say, well, I don't want it to go from there. It might look better if it went from there, perhaps. I think that looks a bit better, doesn't it? Let's have a look. Yeah, that looks better. So, you know, the thing is, Lightroom will decide where to take the pixels from. Sometimes you might decide to take it from somewhere else if you think you're getting a better result. So always check that. In that case, I think I did need to do it. Right, that's okay, isn't it? That's looking fine. Let's do that one. Now, what it's done there, look, there was a line here of fencing, that wire, and it's actually sampled from here. So it's taken the wire from here and placed it there. So I don't want that. So I can drag up to there, and there you go. That's better, isn't it? Let's take this one out. Where's that taken that from? That's not too bad, I suppose. And then that one there. Okay, now I don't like where it's taken that from. As you can see here, this is the area I'm trying to heal, and it's sampling from, Lightroom is sampling from this area here. Now you can see that there's an arrow that's saying, right, this is the area that I'm sampling from, and I'm going to place it over the area you just painted, and you follow where the arrow is. Now obviously it's taken some of this wooden post. Now I don't want that, so I can override that and then just drag it to where it's going to look better. So let's try somewhere around about there, and that looks much better, doesn't it? So always be mindful of that Lightroom will do its best to sample from an area that it thinks is similar to the area that you're trying to replace. It doesn't always get it right, so that's something you should bear in mind. If I look at this one here, this is one I did earlier. You can see I've tried to take this line out here, and Lightroom has used pixels from here. Now look, it's taken some of the post and it's placed, I don't know if you can see that, but some of the pixels from this post are now sitting here on the leaves. Now I don't want that. All I need to do is just drag that across, and that will get rid of it. And there you go, that should do it. Let's take a look at that. That's much better, isn't it? So there's a lot of the other thing is there's a lot of nodes now. In other words, there's a lot of areas where I've made some adjustments. So you need to make the node active. In other words, just click on it so it goes black before you can start dragging things around and adjusting. So you need to do that. Okay, and that looks fine, doesn't it? So once you're happy with your corrections, just click on done, and that looks so much better, doesn't it? It looks now as if they're properly in the jungle. So let's look at another image then. Now in this photograph I would like to remove this price tag sticker, this orange area just here on the mannequin's head. So I want to remove that and possibly tidy up this nose area as well. So to do that, again, I'm going to use the healing brush. Again, spot removal tool, healing brush. And I'm going to, in this case, take the feather. Let's have a little look. I'm going to take the feather a bit smaller. One of the reasons for this, making the feather smaller, is there's not a lot of area on the mannequin's head for me to sample from, or for Lightroom to sample from. So let me just show you what I mean then. Hopefully this will work. So again, I'm just painting over the area that I want to be removed or replaced. Now once I let the mouse go, there you go. So let's just have a look what has happened there then. So this is the area here, obviously, where the orange sticker was. And Lightroom, as you see, it's sampled from this area here. And you can see the arrow. There's the arrow that we keep seeing, which shows you the direction. But what has happened is, I don't know if you can see this, there's a shine on the mannequin's head just here. And that shine has been taken across to here as well. So this would mean that if I just lift that up, and I can move that around and get what I think is a better area for Lightroom to take the pixels from. And there you go, that's fantastic, isn't it? So as I said in the previous image of the lions, you do have to sort of just watch where Lightroom is actually sampling from, and the majority of the time it does a great job, but you have the option to override that and just drag the area around And as I say, make sure the nodes are active when you do it, and then you just quite simply drag them around, and that looks great, doesn't it? So let's just try, there's a little spot up there as well. Let's get rid of that one. I'm going to make the brush size a little bit smaller. Let me just press H just to hide those nodes. And again, just click on there. Well, disappeared. There's another little one there. That disappeared. It's so easy, isn't it? So let's try this nose area here. Now, it's never going to be perfect. And for something like this, I'd probably jump into Photoshop. But let's just see if I can do a decent job of removing the little chipped area from the nose. Oh, that's awful, isn't it? So let's press H and see what's happened. Now, it's sampled from the lip area, and part of the lip is now going onto the nose. So this is what you've got to be careful about. And if I can just drag that round, that little smooth area there is perfect, isn't it? Look. You would never ever think that the nose on that mannequin was chipped. But as you saw, it originally sampled from the lip area. So when it does stuff like that, you can override it. And that worked perfect, didn't it? Okay, so just keeping that feather slightly smaller is the thing I tend to do, obviously on smaller areas, but also when you're in a tight situation where if there's too much feather, then it will reveal. Let me just show you what I mean there. If I click make that active, and if I increase the feather, you may see bits of orange come back, and there you go, because the feather's much too big. And obviously the softer area around where I've painted, it's just, you just don't need that much feather. And as I say, because I'm in a tight area for Lightroom to sample from, I didn't really need as much feather as that. So the great thing is, though, you can retrospectively change the feather, so you can make your adjustments and then go in and fine tune after the event, if you know what I mean. So that's pretty cool as well, isn't it? So there you go, simple before and after. If I can do that, oh, there you go, before, after, and you'd never know it was there, would you? So let's take a look at another image. Now, in this image of my local park, I have a random jogger jogging across the bridge, and I'd like to remove her. So let's zoom in. Let's go in a bit tighter than that. So there she is there, and I think the image would look so much better if she wasn't there. Right, and must send my apologies to the lady, but it would look better without her there. So again, spot removal tool. Now this time I'm going to use the clone tool, because, and I'll show you the difference and why I've decided to use the clone tool a little bit later on. But anyway, I'm going to do this in 3 stages as well. So I'm going to try maybe around about 30 for the feather, and I'm going to do this in 3 parts. Top part of the body, middle part, and then the bottom part. So let's click up here. I'll make the brush a little bit bigger. Let's click there and see what happens. Okay, that's not too bad. Press H so I can see what's happened. Now it's taken it all the way from over there, and it's obviously included the branch of this tree. Now I don't want that, so I can just drag this over, and watch, if I do this carefully, I can actually line that up perfectly. So I'm just getting there, right? Probably a bit too much. Right, let's release it there. And yeah, that's done a good job, hasn't it? So it's taken pixels from there and put them over there. So the next part to do then is this middle section. So let's click there. And what's happened? Do you know, that looks quite good, doesn't it? But it's not lined up properly, so I'm gonna perhaps drag it to here, and I need to line up the posts on the metal fence. How does that look there? That looks great, doesn't it? Now you've got to remember it's off in the distance, so you know, I could spend a bit more time and get it lined up exactly. But as I say, because it's so far off in the distance, I'm not going to do that. But if you've got an image that's, it's probably maybe larger on your screen, or it's a bigger part of your image, you can take a little bit more time. Now I just need to get rid of the legs. So let's just click on where the leg area is and see what it does right now. Stupidly, it's taken pixels from the foliage to the right hand side. Now I don't want that. What I actually want is a bit of the concrete bridge, and I need to try and line up those lines as well. Okay, so how does this look? I'll go that way a bit more. How does that look there? That looks okay, doesn't it? I'm going to release that, and let's have a look. Yeah, that looks fantastic, doesn't it? So let me just zoom out, and of course once you zoom out, that's what happens. The jogger has completely disappeared. So let me zoom in again. Let me zoom into about there, and let's select this top node just here. Maybe I should zoom in a bit more. And if I decided then to change that to a heel, can you see what's happened there? On that steel rail now, there is some pink coming through from the jogger. So it's blended. What's trying to do is blend the jogger in with the leaves. Now I don't want that. I want to remove, I don't want any blending to happen at all. I want to clone areas, clean areas, and this is a clean area. I want to clone all the information from there over to here. I don't want it blended, which is what the healing brush is doing. So if I just click on clone, you'll see that disappear. It's taken those pixels and it's putting them over there. And as I said earlier, if you want to be super accurate, in this tutorial, I don't want you to sit there watching me be really sort of finicky to try and get an absolute perfect match. But you when you're doing it, you perhaps have more time. That said, I'm quite happy with that. That looks great, doesn't it? And you would never ever know that jogger was running across the bridge. So that is when I use the clone tool. When I definitely want to transfer pixels, hard pixels, from one area to the other, and the feather will remember the feather. It's still, although it's a clone, it still has a feathered edge, so it transfers those pixels across, and it doesn't have the hard edge, so it kind of blends in. But it doesn't do the same as what the healing brush does, where the healing brush would actually blend. The lady had a pink sweater on, and that is blending in with the leaves, and I don't want that. I want to clone. I actually want to take a hard bunch of pixels from a clean area and drop them on top of the jogger. So that is an instance where I'd use the clone tool. The clone's fantastic. So lastly, we have the image on the screen. You can see at the moment, and it is a very odd image of some architecture in Liverpool. Now the camera's being pointed up towards the sky, obviously, with what was the aperture size? f8. What I can see is lots of spots. Now those spots are on the sensor of the camera. Now this happens a lot with digital cameras, obviously, and once you start closing the aperture down, f8 isn't a particularly small aperture, but anyway, when you do close the aperture down and point it at the sky, that is when dirt or little dust specks will appear on your photograph. It's quite annoying. But we can use Lightroom to remove them. And I'm going to show you a little tip. I quite like this. So let's open up spot removal, make sure it's on heel. Okay. I'll get my brush size ready, I guess. I'm going to put the feather on around about 50. And I'm going to come down to the bottom here to this toolbar along the bottom. And it says here, visualize spots. Show or hide the spot visualization. So I'm going to press that and look what happens. The area goes to black and white, and I can clearly see where these spots are. Now you can use this slider here to reveal more of the image. Now obviously I wouldn't. That's a bit too much, because it's obviously, like, you can see the grain coming through there. So round about there would be right, because I can see where all those little dots are, little dots, specks of dust. And all I need to do now is just paint over them. Now I'm going to press H just to hide that, the nodes, and I will then go through and get rid of every single spot in this top part of the image. So once I'm happy that I've removed all those spots, I can just check this box and take a look at what's happened. And there you can see all the spots have gone. How cool is that? So let's see a before and after. This is the before with the spots, and this is after. So I think that visualization spot tool option that you've got, it really does help in a situation like that anyway. Now, I know you're watching this and you're saying, Frank, there's loads of spots here as well in this section, but I won't do them. But just to let you know, I just thought that's a cracking little thing you can use, that visualize spots. And yeah, it's so easy, isn't it? So listen, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll hand you back to Frank sitting there on the chair in his front room. Well, thank you, Frank, for that wonderful explanation of the spot removal tool. Now, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, and if you can be bothered, put a thumbs up or consider subscribing. But above all else, remember what I said at the start of the video. I'm no expert, I'm just like you, but I do know that if we all stay in, we've got a chance of saving each other's lives. How important is that? It's bigger than any instructional video, isn't it? So I want you to be safe, because I want you to call back, and I'll never meet you, I know that, but let's all stay safe. Take care, and I shall see you shortly.
Take a photograph and make the moment last.